Precise, what's going on, brother?
Precise. What's good, Eddie? How's everything, fam?
Hey, man, I'm here. We are live right now here on Rolling Out Facebook, and I want to thank you so much for checking in with us so we can talk about what's going on with you, how you're handling this pandemic. It's a great time to be having this conversation right now.
My man, I definitely appreciate you having me on. I'm about to go ahead and have the rest of the family join in, so let me mute that. And
Okay.
I certainly want to share this to the pages so that everybody can see exactly what's going on, brother. I certainly appreciate you.
Of course, of course. You know, while you're doing that, I really want to, because this is national, so I really want to give people an idea of why we're talking to you and why it's so important that we have this conversation with you. If you can give them a background of who you are and kind of what you represent to the DJ world, worldwide, nationally.
No, I think that's
nationally.
No, I appreciate that. I'm a little fella born and raised on the south side of Chicago, went to Whitney Young High School here, developed an incredible network. For a lot of people, they don't know that Whitney Young is the same high school that Michelle Obama went to. So it's, one of the I guess you could say the progressive public high schools that we have here in Chicago. Went away to Florida A&M University. Okay. And that's where I did my very first party. So it was cool to go away 1,000 miles away from home. That was the first party that I ever did, and just created an incredible network between Whitney Young as a high school, FAMU, and my man Teddy Gilmore started a company called ClubNet in Chicago, and they used to attract huge parties. I mean,
I
like
remember those parties.
Right, 1,000, 1,500 people, and I was kind of reluctant. I just wanted to be a person in the background, and he actually had a party at the train station here in Chicago, Union Station, and said, "Hey, you're up next in 3 weeks." And I did that party. I had 1,500 people in it. Fast forward, doing a lot of huge parties in Chicago. A buddy of mine from high school was a higher up at BET. She was like, "I see what you're doing. Would you like to do a segment on BET?" And then that just rolls to my buddy Keisha Walker from FAM saying, "Hey, I'm doing these Essence events in New Orleans. Do you want to do that?" BET calls again. Next thing you know, I'm really starting to do a lot of events, not only in Chicago on the club and the private scene, but now on the national scene as well. So fast forward now to 2020, I've traveled with Dougie Fresh as a tour DJ with Dougie Fresh. I've DJed tons of private and major events, not only for President Obama, but also, man, you name it, the Chicago Urban League, National Urban League, NAACP. And the one thing that a lot of these parties have in common is that people are looking for a professional DJ, but at the same time, somebody who can bring kind of like a street or a club feel to a private event or to, a major event. So they want that pure raw energy of the club, but at the same time, a polished feel as well. So when you look at the sororities and fraternities, a lot of civic organizations like Operation Push, I did their NBA All-Star party with Shaq a couple weeks ago here in Chicago for the All-Star. It's really just been incredible over this time from starting FAMU at 88 to now 2020 to have really this background of, the go-to professional DJ for major events across the country.
Yes, sir. And I mean, you've definitely made a name for yourself here in Chicago and nationwide. And
absolutely,
because you're a dope DJ. Now just to kind of get into the meat of things, we're in the midst of this pandemic. This is the conversation at hand. How have you been holding up thus far? Just with everything.
Here's what I can tell you. I mean, anyone who's in this industry, I don't want to just kind of like focus on the DJs only in this statement. When you look at the bar backs, the bartenders, the security guards, the club managers, when you look at in the event planning world, the florists, the caterers, the event planners themselves, anything dealing with, a public-based event, everyone to a great extent has been put on hold. So a lot of these, people that are connected live on an event to event basis. So not actually every event, but you kind of schedule out your life and say, "Hey, here's what I have coming in May. Here's what I have coming in June." And, you kind of live in that dynamic. So not just for DJs, everyone in that public space now is kind of been put on halt. And, depending on your personal savings position, depending on if you do have multiple streams of income, which is a blessing for me as well, even as a professional DJ. It's a real scary time out there. So for me personally, it's been great to have developed over the last 2.5 years, a trade and a practice that I've been able to do off the scenes and have success there as well. But definitively here relative to the DJ scene, it's just one of those things where it's been incredible for me personally to parlay what I've done in a physical sense over into the virtual world. And then, just on occasion, people be so kind enough to say, hey, we appreciate the energy that you're giving us for this experience. And, it's been great to, receive a tip or two or three from people, ranging from anywhere from $2 and beyond. And, I'm the type of guy, we've known each other for years, and a lot of people know me personally, know that I just don't take anything for granted. I certainly try to give back in any way that I can, just to say thank you. And I've had people, send $5 to me to say, hey, I just got laid off on Thursday. I wish that I could do more, but thank you so much. And, that's a very humbling experience for all of us, whether you're the donator or me as the recipient. But that's how it's been, relative to the transition in this world. And something I don't take for granted, but at the same time, it's certainly been a blessing.
What inspired you to jump into the live DJing, and what are some of the challenges that exist doing DJing in this fashion?
I think I'm gonna give it to you in a couple different segments. It's great that we kind of have an open format. I was asked this question on CBS2 radio. My man Jamont asked the question, and I gave a pretty substantive answer, but of course in TV, a lot of it hit the editing floor. So, when I brought up D Nice's name, there were a lot of people like, D Nice didn't invent, live DJing. I'm like, no, he's the person who made it a household, understanding, or he really brought it to the masses. But my own personal story goes back to the days of Ustream. So some people out there may remember Ustream as a streaming company. I used to take a laptop with a webcam, and whether it was just on the South Side at the dating game, or whether it was in Colorado at the Black Ski Summit, I would take my laptop, and if I had an internet, Wi-Fi connection, stream the party live while I was actually DJing for those people who weren't able to come out. So that's something that I did on Ustream, maybe 2010, 2011. So, years ago. So I've always had the capacity to do it. Hadn't necessarily gone live prior to the explosion that D Nice created. And what I want to say about that first Saturday after it was kind of like official, we're on, I guess you could say lockdown. I know there's a lot of shelter in place, however it would want to be stated. But, it was really incredible to see that he created a movement. He created an emotion. He created a moment. And, with that being the case, I think he may have started on Tuesday with 200 people. And then fast forward from the fact that, he DJs for Jay-Z Rock Nation parties and Puffy White events. That's an incredible network. And I've worked with Derek as well for many different events across the country as well. Super guy. But to parlay and roll 200 people into over 100,000, that was just a very magnetic moment. But in the party, what I would say is, if you want Quincy Jones, if you want Lenny Kravitz, if you want Stevie Wonder, you probably weren't going to get a shout out. So for a lot of people, they were just kind of like a fly on the wall looking at this incredible experience. It brought a lot of emotion. It brought a lot of people together in a very uncertain time. Like, music was a healing factor, but I just kind of saw like, man, this is an incredible thing. But if you're not like, a Grammy winning artist or Michelle Obama or Oprah, you probably won't get a shout out. Well, I've got a much more, I guess you could say, concentrated network than he does. But what if I were able, to the best of my ability, to give everyone recognition, the colleges, the home cities, the individuals who are celebrating or want to be recognized? What if I could make a person feel like they were in the moment? That would be something special, where you're not just watching the party, it is your party. Like, you're actually making the party your own experience. So, we can kind of flesh that out later. But, for me, that's what made it come to this point starting in 2010,
Mhm.
seeing what Derek did and say, hey, on occasion, I can do this as well and bring a different element that makes it everyone else's party. Now, the challenges for me are very small. I'll say, and the reason that the challenge for me is small is because I'm the type of DJ where I'm always looking out in the audience to see what it is, to see how I can corral people's interest.
So
So
there's no audience in front of you now. So what's with that? What's with that?
the parlay is creating the energy into the chat room. When you ask a question and you get that call and response and it's coming through the chat area, it's actually now making it, hey, I'm over here. So if I were at a party and I said, hey, where are the April birthdays? I would see the girls over by the cake raise their hand and say,
Right.
what's her name? Sherry, happy birthday, Sherry. And then Sherry's girls are like, yay, it's Sherry's party. If I said, hey, where are my, people that went to Southern Illinois University, Illinois State, they're like, yeah, ISU over here, Redbirds over here.
Mhm.
So if you're doing where the HBCUs, where's University of Illinois, those hands go up. Well, I'm able to do that virtually. And all I'm doing now is kind of monitoring the chat room. So you got a dynamic that comes from that. Two things. There are music purists that say, I don't want to hear all of that damn talking. Like, let me just listen to the music. That's all I want to do. Well, we could do that without a DJ. We could put on a pre-recorded mix and do
Right.
that. And that's not to this, at all say anything against anyone who's DJing for the music, because there is a class of people, there's a segment of people that's their thing and that's what they like. In this emotional time that we're in now, to create an experience where you could be a part of the party. You put the party on your big screen or you put it on your, Bluetooth device, and it's bigger, it's louder, it's your name, it's your friends, it's your college. That becomes something that's engaging and really just creates an escape for that 3.5 hours that I'm broadcasting, where people lose track of time, they lose track of, the bills that, may not be getting paid, or the kid
Mhm.
where you're trying to figure out how to do their homework and that was what was frustrating you, or any number of things. It's an escape. So I do understand that, it's a difference, but at the same time, it's creating the fact that now you can have four figures of people, 1,200, 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 people have their own party experience where they now feel connected. They're not just watching you, they're actually connecting with their buddy who's in Michigan that
Right.
they went to college with. They're now connecting with their soror who's, 2 blocks away, but they can't see one another. It's bringing these people together. So that's how I've, shifted that energy that I would do physically into a virtual party.
Well, let me ask you a question about just historically. Historically, Chicago has created some of the best musicians, arguably the best DJs in the business come from Chicago.
I
Why,
agree.
why do you
I'm
think that's
biased.
so? I mean, I agree. I'm biased, but this is how I feel, and I know it to be true. Why do you think that's so?
Well, let's give love to New York, Philly, Baltimore, DC, of course, Miami,
Of course.
LA, major markets. Let's give Atlanta, let's give love to all the major markets. Here's the biggest thing that I think that happened in Chicago between 79 and, let's say, 95. The biggest thing that happened. So if you got started DJing at 95, let's say you were born in 1982, you're 12, 13 with your first equipment. The biggest thing that happened between 79 and 95 is that people did it for the love of the music. They didn't do it because they wanted to be in the party. They wanted to rock the party. They wanted to be seen. They wanted to be known. If in 1986, there was no hip hop in Chicago, every party was a house music party.
Right.
The continuity of the music meant that you had to be able to successfully transition songs on beat, in a flow, let the song breathe, let people feel what they were doing, and successfully create a movement with each and every song. New York and East Coast music was very, like Planet Rock here, Run DMC here. So the energies kind of like shifted. Chicago was like a building and that sort of thing. Down south, it was talk over the song, now play the next song, because there was really no transition. You have Uncle Luke, Jam Pony Express, you know, a lot, Uncle Al, a lot of people from the South. It was just about talk the next song in and play it. So I say all that to say, in 1986, if you went out in public as a DJ and couldn't put two songs together on beat, you might be physically carried out the party. That was a Chicago.
That's a Chicago thing.
Absolutely. So it was all about being in your bedroom, being in your basement, honing your skill before your crates, before your crates ever saw the light of day. So many people in other regions were like, I got records or I got equipment. People in Chicago like, I can't be seen until I can do this right. And so I think that foundation of having to have a very sound space in your basics and your fundamentals and your skill set really set Chicago apart, because it wasn't see and be seen. You couldn't be seen until you actually had the skill set. I think that is really the foundation of what makes Chicago the home and the foundation and the hotbed of some of the, you know, hottest DJs to ever see the planet.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, what do you think it is about what you're doing? I caught the day party you did yesterday, which was amazing. The backdrop is amazing with the big windows behind you. So it's a good look and everything. And the music is awesome. So what is it, do you think, that you're doing that, you know, you talk about, you know, communicating with the fans in the chat and everything, but what do you think that you're, what is it that's special about you that connects with the people?
God's plan starts here. The first party that we did, I'm home now. So my neighbor downstairs was like, I'm not having it. So I actually live across the street from my brother. So that incredible view is my brother's view.
Okay.
So I say God's plan, because if my neighbor downstairs was like, hey, it's cool with me, I would have never been across the street. So I think that backdrop, you know, especially if you're on Facebook, you don't have the same scene from Instagram. The backdrop, and also the fact that I have a direct feed into my system where you're getting the mixer, the sound direct from my mixing board. So that if you do go to a stereo.
Let me stop you right there. Say that one more time, because there are a lot of people who go on live right now, and I don't know if they understand that basic point. If you could just state that point again.
So I'll even go a step behind. When I first had the idea, my fiance Kalila said, well, why don't you do Instagram? Because, you know, essentially D-Nice made Instagram like a, you know, like if you're going to go live, go on Instagram. Well, two things. One, there's no way to connect a direct feed without a lot of jury rigging and, you know, creating a lot of, so there's no way to just instantly go direct in your sound. So everything is ambient. That means if the phone rings in the background, if, you know, the baby starts crying, if anything happens in that person's house, everyone's going to hear that on top of the music.
Yep.
The other thing is that on Instagram, you constantly have things dropping in from the top, fighting from your attention. And, you know, Oprah has gone live, LL Cool J has gone live. Like, you constantly have things that are fighting for your attention. So if you're D-Nice and it's like 60,000 people in the room, well, this is the place to be. But if you're Kid Fresh and there's 72 people in the room, then, you know, it's like, hey, Kid Capri has gone live.
Well, your people leave.
Right. So even before the sound, my decision to go to Facebook was, you got to capture in a captive audience. Like, they're right there. There's not a lot of notifications and things that are fighting for their attention and their ability to share and have the party populate even more, because they're like, share, join my watch party, other things that creates more sets of eyes. So that's why I went to Facebook. But also then, now going back to what you shared about the sound, there is a direct connection that's going out of my mixing board directly into what's cast in the sound. And to have that, you know, club quality sound, I suggest that everybody do two things. One, buy a Chromecast, buy an Apple TV, find out the connections on your TV that allow you to play your computer, your iPad, your tablet, your phone onto your stereo or onto your TV, and then get a bigger sounding sound bar or something in your home. Why? Virtual parties aren't going anywhere anytime soon. This is what people are going to do. Instead of, you know, 400 people in one party, Tammy, just to make up a name, is going to say, hey, why don't y'all bring the liquor? I got the big screen and the sound. 6 friends come over, and it's just those 7 friends, you know, 6, so it's Tammy and her 6 friends. She's got the banging sound. She's got the you know, 60, 70-inch TV, and everybody is partying in Tammy's house like they were out with the 400 people. But now the peace of mind and the safety of the second wave and all these things we hear, you know, around COVID-19, they're able to party very easily and very comfortably because they've got a big screen and the right sound. Mm-hmm. Having that direct audio feed coming direct out of my system, and now so many DJs, my man Torrin Edmond, my man Alan King, they're doing it direct through other methods. I mean, you know, Nick Nicholson using OBS software. Now I'm putting it out there. There's no secrets, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, my brother who turned me on to it, DJ Tony Binion, DJ Wild Child. I was like, hey, your sound is incredible. How you doing this? Well, Tony was going live 5 years ago. You know, so I was like, how's your sound? He was like, you need to buy an iRig. And that's what I use. I use an iRig, and it's going direct into. So I'm sorry to talk so much about it. Like I'm not, you know, trying to, but I do think that these are the distinguishing factors that really create a different experience when you come into one of my events, as opposed to if you just hear the ambient sound and you don't have that direct connection.
No, all of that makes a difference because, again, that creates that vibe that you're talking about, so that you can have a vibe DJing from your brother's house and entertain millions across the world. I mean, I think that's very important that we focus on the technology. So,
and Eddie, can I tell you a little trick of the trade?
Of course.
So you've got, you know, I'm sure, because, you know, I'm a very self-aware person. You've got some people out there who I'm sure are like, why does he talk so much? I just want to hear the song. Well, here's a Facebook, you know, hack that I'll share with you. If a DJ's party ever gets shut down on Facebook, it's not because Facebook doesn't like you. It's because Warner Brothers doesn't like you. Sony doesn't like you. There are copyright restrictions on these songs where Facebook is like, hey, you're playing this copywritten song, and there's an algorithm that goes out listening for these things. And the longer you let the algorithm play, so if you're letting a 7-minute song play 6 minutes, chances are you're going to have to reboot your feed.
Yep.
You know, at some point, because the algorithm is like, I hear that, shut them down. That's a banned song, or that's a song that we should be getting paid to play. However, if you're talking through the song and you don't give the algorithm time to catch up with what it is that you're playing, and you go to the next song, well, I'm playing for 3.5 hours, but I've only been shut down once. Someone else is playing for 1 hour and they're getting shut down 7 times in 1 hour. It's not because Facebook likes me and it doesn't like them. It's because my cadence and what I'm doing is throwing off the algorithm of Facebook to allow my party to go a longer time.
Hey, DJs, Vince just gave up some valuable game right
They call
here.
that a pro tip. That's a pro tip.
That's a pro tip, and you heard it here on Rolling Out, word up. So now, I don't know if anybody else has any questions out there. I know the comments are going crazy right now.
Oh,
Anybody got any questions?
I don't have anything. I didn't want, you know, I do that for the party, but I have no comments going right now.
Yeah, it's going crazy.
I want to give you my.
Yeah, it's going crazy right now. Well, let me ask this question then.
Sure.
So what do some?
Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's give them the private conversation that we had before we got offline.
Mm-hmm.
So Precise is beard gang. I'm babyface gang, but I told him this is the biggest afro I've had in years. And he was like, I ain't got that problem. So
right,
we go switch it around, man.
Not the afro problem, not at all.
Right. And here's what I'll tell you. I think another thing that you say, well, what is it that appeals to your sets? I don't take myself serious, man. I just don't. When I'm at the like, there's no serious in me. I'm cracking jokes. I'm having fun. I'm taking shots with my brother, Tanya Bennett's party yesterday. We're doing countdown to the next shot. She missed the 2:30 shot. I mean, the 2 o'clock shot. So she had to take 2:30. It's like, man, like people leave the day party. Like, I feel like I was just actually at the day party. Like, I need a nap. You know, before
that's the beauty. Dinner. That's the beauty of a day party.
A day party in your house is even better because you can just go to the bedroom when it's. But that part as well is that I'm always looking to tastefully inject some level of humor, some level of levity, and then just, to allow us all to kind of get past this uncertain place, this anxiety that we're feeling, because that's real. But to be, everything is what you focus on. If I can change your focus, if I can divert your attention to something that's a little more entertaining, a little lighter, that's my job. So it won't be for everyone. Somebody's just a serious music lover and they're like, he's destroying my song. Well, there's a lot of other channels you can go to for that. For the people that are like, I just want to let my hair down, or, in your case, oil my scalp, whatever it is that a person wants to do. They're like, hey, I just want to have a good time.
You've touched on this a few times, and it really is about the music. And I don't think that the power of it can be discounted. I don't think we can overemphasize it enough. What do you think it is about music that is able to provide people perspective and then just provide them an ability to escape? Why is that so important?
Well, the secret is out. I'm a nerd, like huge nerd. Like my master's is from DePaul in computer science. My undergrad is from FAMU in business. So like a lot of people say, man, I want to hang out at your house, and I'm sure it's popping over there all the time. And Khalil will tell you, like, man, he's listening to an audio book, or he's watching YouTube, or, like, I am not doing what it is I do in front of the camera behind. I say that to say that I know a lot about psychology, and I know a lot about the way the brain works. So I'll ask anyone who's watching, where were you 9/11 of 2001? Like, everyone can remember where they were when they heard the news, or even some of us, where were you when you heard that OJ was acquitted? Like you can go back. Yeah, I was at my job and I was like, yeah, he got here. You remember it. But if I said, what did you have for dinner last Wednesday? It's like, man, what did I have for dinner? Right. So how can you remember something that happened in 94, 95, or 2001, but you can't remember something that happened last week? It's because that there's a sensory connection with what there was an emotion that fired and locked that memory into you. Well, pretty much everything that took place, mama's favorite song, grandma's favorite song, my birthday on my 30th birthday, or all the moments of our life, for the most part, our personal moments have a song attached to it. It creates a memory. It actually creates an indelible connection in your brain that when you hear the song, it brings you back here. It reminds you of this sorority party. It reminds you of this moment in your life. And that's the thing that music is. It's the connective tissue to our emotions. Yes. So in that regard, it creates a psychological connection that otherwise it just doesn't, which is why some music can actually irritate you, which is why somebody talking over the song that you love that connects to that emotion could irritate you, because it's an emotion. Everything in music is emotion. It's either resistant, it doesn't work, or it's, allowing, or it's connective, and it actually, becomes a part of you. And so I think that's, why music has such an impact on people during this time.
Yeah. So again, for everybody just tuning in, this is a conversation with DJ Vince Adams, hosted by your guy right here, Precise. Man, we'll be wrapping up right now. Does anybody have any questions out here we want to ask? If now is the time to set that up. At any rate, Vince, again, I've known you for years. You've never been one to disappoint. I really appreciate you taking this moment to speak to the nation about, how you've been coping and why DJing is so important in moments like this. I appreciate you. If you could share your internet handles and everything, so people can find you.
Absolutely. Everything is DJ Vince Adams, only one D in Adams. It's only two Ds in the movie. DJ Vince Adams on everything. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, you name it, everything is DJ Vince Adams. And the parties at this point, I did the first one the last weekend in March, and there were two back to back. There was a house party, and then there was a open format or mixed genre party. And I've kind of gone one party every 2 weeks since then. So I can let everyone know that the next two parties are May 9th at 12:30 p.m. Central, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's Saturday, May 9th at 12:30. And then the next one after that will be a Memorial Saturday party. So everybody get ready for a special thing for Memorial Weekend, because here in Chicago, our lockdown has been extended to at least May 30th. So with that being the case, we've got to keep people's spirits up. We've got to keep you entertained. So you have now the opportunity to buy that sound bar for your TV, or to get that connective item, so that the next time you're partying, really the party is in your living room, it's in your kitchen, it's in your basement. And that's really, we don't have many options at this point. That's a great way to go.
Word up. DJ Vince Adams, thank you so much. Again, this is a conversation with your guy Precise right here at Rolling Out. Please, if you haven't added Rolling Out or liked the page, please make sure you like the Rolling Out page. And if you want to find me on Facebook, you can go to at Precise on Facebook, or Eddy Lamarre, EDDYLAMARRE. Also on
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in on the back end before you. I didn't want anybody to hit stop. I have one more thing to share.
Go ahead.
No. I'm sorry.
On Instagram, you can find me at precise_CHI. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that this is not, an individual effort. I mean, it started with my family encouraging me, but then, my brothers Melzy Porter, my man Ray Ramsey, we've worked together for years. They were like, hey, VA, in any way, if we can support you in bringing this forward. Then you have their team with Felicia, family like Tanya Bennett, whose party was yesterday, come together. So it's really a community or a global thing. It's not like, hey, it's the bench show. I definitely wanted to give them love. And, my girl Tracy, Catrice, she's doing big things in the PR world, making connections. So the great thing is to have good paper with people. Luckily have not an enemy in the world that I can speak of. And it's been incredible for the outreach. My man, John Jackson, just different people saying, hey, if there's anything I can do to help you bring more attention to what you're doing. So finally, with that, Eddy, thank you so much for featuring me. Like Jay-Z said, you could have had anybody else in the world here, but you chose me. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Wow. And thanks to the Rolling Out team. And thank you guys again. If you have not liked the Rolling Out page, please go ahead and do so. And we'll catch you next time in the next segment. And stay in the house. Peace.
Appreciate you, bro.